The 7-year cycle of the Strait Games once again returned them to the Rock this year for the 17th edition of the event. Formalised in 1998, the Games have grown substantially into one of the biggest sporting events of the Campo area and on the local calendar. The Strait Games cater for athletes under 12 years of age, as well as Special Olympic athletes, and are designed with participation and enjoyment in mind. The actual organisation and schedule of the whole event varies from year to year, depending on where they are being held. This year, the 20 sports on offer were split almost exactly down the middle, with 8 sports taking place on Friday afternoon and 12 happening throughout Saturday. Gibraltar was joined by teams from La Línea, San Roque, Los Barrios, Algeciras, Tarifa and Ceuta, which make up the 7 main participating municipalities of the Games. In other years, we have also seen limited participation from Castellar and even Tangiers, especially in the football portion of the Games, but they didn't make the trip across the border this time round. Teams began arriving at 3 on Friday afternoon, and they assembled on the stadium's pitch number 2, where each individual was provided with a packed lunch before heading off to the venue of their respective sports. Of the 8 sports on offer on day 1, all but 1 were housed within the stadium and Bayside complex. The old sports hall was divided into 2 and converted into a martial arts centre with both judo and taekwondo taking place side by side. 2 sports which are similar in nature and also very similar in their local running and organisation. Gibraltar's judo contingent is always well looked after by brothers Charlie and Peter Conroy, whilst on the other side of the hall, brothers Ernest and Edward Garcia made sure that the young taekwondo enthusiasts were kept busy throughout the afternoon. The hall was packed with what can only be described as a cross-border martial arts family, which has always really added to the atmosphere of the events, making the experience even more thrilling for the youngsters. For the local judo fraternity, it was the second big event in the space of a week, as they held their annual national championships at their club last week. Charlie Conroy joined me on Friday and brought me up to date with how both events had run.
They've taken it very, very well. There's a lot of keenness in it, and I think that the next event is going to be even better. As you can see, the Spanish and the local lads, they're putting a lot of interest into what they're doing.
Now, as every year, Gibraltar is joined by several towns and cities from around the Campo area. How much do not only the kids but yourselves look forward to this annual reunion with friends from across the border and across the Straits even in some sports? It must mean a very big deal for the day.
It is good. It's good because they make friends, they meet old friends, and apart from that, they learn from each other. Even though they're competing each other, they can see how far they've gone in their forms of training.
Now this is the end, I guess you could call it, of 2 very busy, solid weeks for judo, young judo in Gibraltar. You had your annual championships last Thursday, so just briefly tell us how that went. I understand you had a very special guest as well.
Yes, we had over 50 children participating, where we had the judo championships and jiu-jitsu championships, and jiu-jitsu being groundwork mostly. Also, we had the privilege of the Professor Clark, Professor Hudson, Dave Hudson. He came for 4 days and he was presented the medals. The last time he was here was about 22 years ago, so it was a long way waited for.
And from the enthusiasm and from the feedback that you've had from the kids, what would they consider more important, the actual national championships or the Strait Games?
I think both. First of all, the actual championships is good for them because they put all the strength and impetus into it, because from there I pick the people for the Strait Games. So obviously they go tough there, and they go even tougher when they're doing it at the Strait Games.
While some of our visiting taekwondo prodigies were making a mess with some polystyrene, I caught up with Ernest Garcia and he told me how the day had gone.
Yeah, it's been a lovely day. Our 6 cities have come, and it's been a very enjoyable day as well, and they've been competing in different aspects of taekwondo, in part in the exhibition, and now they're going to do sparring.
Now, as you just mentioned, taekwondo as a sport has different aspects to it, the pumseis and all that, but how important is the Strait Games to Gibraltar's kids in terms of like the actual event that it is? It must be a big day for them, isn't it?
For them it's been a lovely day because normally we go to the Strait Games every year, and then some of them have come and they are friends. We communicate well. It's like a big family. Taekwondo is like a very big family, and a very enjoyable day that we've been having today as well.
Now, for you as an organizer of the sport in the Strait Games, how different is it for you to go away from Gibraltar for the Strait Games as opposed to actually hosting it here at home?
It's been very difficult for us because we got players in GB team, and today we got a very big seminar with important people in the UK, and we have cancelled that, and we're here in Gibraltar to organize the events.
Now, in the background we can see some of the younger Taekwondo enthusiasts who have come up the ranks, some of your daughters as well. How important is it to keep it within the family to help progress and develop the sport, even from a young age?
For us it's very important. As you say, with all the family that are involved, I'm very lucky as well because I got a lot of people helping us as well. Today I got mothers of kids that have come to help as well. So that has been great for us, and that's why the only way can we develop, getting people in and trying to help.
Now, one final question, Ernest. We've got a lot of family members here in the stadium today to watch this Taekwondo exhibition. How do they add and how do they help to the whole atmosphere of the games?
It's been lovely. They're happy. They give all the time is applauding, and then they're happy with the kids. They're enjoying the lovely day today.
Rhythmic gymnastics, as always, plays its part in the Strait Games. Most of the participating gymnasts had in fact been on the rock the previous week, competing in the Gibraltar leg of the Andalusian circuit. This time around there was no pressure on the young gymnasts, with no medals at stake, and all around the Tercentenary Hall there was a relaxed and friendly atmosphere. Gibraltar's gymnasts were joined by Algeciras, Ceuta, La Linea, San Roque and Los Barrios. There was both individual and group displays throughout the course of the afternoon. GRGA head coach Sally Holmes gave us her thoughts, which really echoed the sentiments and thoughts behind the games.
The day's been great. Obviously it's not a competition, but the girls are treated like a competition, so they've worked really, really hard. It's not a competition, and I think it's really good for everybody to see that you can go there and it's friendly games. Everybody gets to compete no matter what age, no matter what sport, and I think it's really, really good for everybody. It is enjoyment, and they have enjoyed themselves. If you look around, everyone's enjoying themselves, everyone's having fun, everyone's enjoying it.
Chess is probably the only event at the Strait Games in which spectators are encouraged to make as little noise as possible. Players, young and old alike, need to be at their very best concentration levels during a game. Therefore, it is imperative that noise levels are kept to a minimum. Our youngsters were joined by players from Algeciras and Tarifa for an afternoon of tense games and good fun in the boathouse. There was also a fourth team formed from a combination of players from the three participating cities, and it was very appropriately called the Combined Straits. Locally, chess is being promoted very well in the middle schools and is certainly much more popular now than ever, especially at a junior level. Gibraltar's team was this year led by young Stephen Watley, who only just outgrew the Strait Games a few years back, and he gave me his views on the day.
Quite smoothly. Players seem to be enjoying it and playing their best and trying their best and seemingly having fun, so it's the whole idea.
Now we've got two visiting teams here to join the Gibraltar chess players. I think it's Tarifa and Algeciras behind us now. What sort of a relationship, a working relationship, do you guys here in Gibraltar have on a chess front with these two towns? I mean, the three, including Gibraltar, three towns that every year tend to send a chess team to the Strait Games. So it's obviously the three towns from around the surrounding areas who enjoy chess the most.
Well, we've all been playing against each other since I was about 8. You know, each of us, as you say, play almost every year and send out a team, and this year it's very strong teams. But it's nice to see everyone that you know again, and players that I know, brothers and sisters of players that are my age that are playing now, and it's nice to see them all enjoying it so much, and we all know each other rather well, so it's nice to see each other all at the same time, and adding to the competitiveness is nice.
Now you certainly have come through the ranks. I remember a couple of years ago interviewing you as a player in the Strait Games, and now you're the actual team manager. So from your point of view as both a player and the coordinator, how do the Strait Games tie up to the rest of the chess calendar for juniors in Gibraltar?
Well, it's very good practice. In particular, Bishop Fitzgerald and maybe another school going to the EPSCA, English Primary Schools Chess Association semi-finals, which is I think the fourth year running where we are competing in these competition, and that's in Wales in a month's time. So it ties up very well. It's very good competition, very good practice for them to play as a team rather than just as individuals. So I think it's definitely a nice. It comes at the right time in the year.
Rugby is one of the newest sports in the Strait Games, with its popularity growing not only in Gibraltar but around the Strait region. A change of venue from the scheduled action at Devil's Tower Camp saw the rugby youngsters take to the main surface at the stadium. Gibraltar were joined by Sam Rocky and Tarifa for the tag competition. After an exhausting afternoon for the youngsters, Tom Cawthorne from the Gibraltar Rugby Football Union gave us his thoughts on the competition.
Fantastic. We've had 3 good teams turn up. They've all played in the right spirit. There's been some fantastic rugby. We've all enjoyed it, and the kids have had a great time.
Now, the emphasis of the Strait Games is always on non-competitive, and it's always about the participation, but rugby being such a physical sport, how do you really sort of eliminate the competitive side of the game?
With our kids, you can never eliminate that. They have lots of fun. One of the team was short of players, so there was volunteers from the other places that came along, and they were really friendly with each other. They started to get to know each other, and that kind of helped out, but that's the kind of rugby spirit.
Now, rugby, as we've always mentioned, is a sport that in Gibraltar is growing year on year. How, within the current junior setup that there is in Gibraltar, how does the Strait Games fit in? How hard is it to get a squad, sort of leaving people out that may not want to be left out? It must be tough at the end of the day.
Yeah, the numbers we've got, we've got 60 kids to pick from in that age group. We've actually got a lot of Year 5, 6 and Year 7s in there, so they're developing as a team. Quite difficult to pick the final 12, but they're all good kids showing a lot of talent. So yeah, it's been a fantastic day.
And finally, Tom, would you say that perhaps the Strait Games have maybe helped or aided the development of junior rugby in Gibraltar?
Yeah, definitely. When we go back to playing tag rugby, it works out, you look for space, it takes out the physical contact, but the kids have got to think constantly. This is what we did today, make them pass, and all in all, it's been brilliant.
With no less than 3 different disciplines within football alone, it was no surprise that we witnessed the sport on both days. On Friday, it was the Special Olympic athletes who took to pitch number 2. An event which got quite heated and caused some problems amongst teams last year in Ceuta, this year ran as smoothly as anyone could have asked for. It was quite windy on pitch number 2, but that didn't stop Gibraltar's Special Olympic footballers from impressing the crowds and even their opponents at times. Gibraltar has always had a top standard of Special Olympics, including football, and these games provide a great platform for development, giving the guys games on an international stage. This year, the Strait Games come just weeks after the team took part in a tournament in the UK at the exclusive invitation of Everton Football Club. I spoke to team manager Brian Fernandez, and he began by telling me how the day's games had gone.
Well, it started off with an excellent day. We've had four visiting teams for the friendly games for the Strait Games, and they've all participated, had a great time, really enjoyed themselves and still at it. So, I mean, it's a very good day.
Now, you guys in Gibraltar Special Olympics football setup have had a very busy past couple of weeks. You were involved obviously in the GFA's grassroots weekend 2 weekends ago, and you were also involved in a tournament in Liverpool as well, which you travelled away to. Just tell us a bit about the experiences of Gibraltar Special Olympics football over the past couple of weeks.
Well, for the grassroots, it was just an invitation by the GFA, which we're trying to. We have a memorandum of understanding with the GFA now, and we were invited, unfortunately, by Everton FC, and we had a trip to Liverpool and had a tournament with 10 other teams in Gold Centre in Liverpool, and 10 teams. We came fourth, lost to the eventual winners in the semi-finals, which was good going. Had a really good time. They really enjoyed themselves. Well, fortunate enough to see a live football game between Everton and Tottenham, which was a semi-final. They really enjoyed themselves. The weather, raining and all that, but really good event. I'm hoping to bring that event to Gibraltar sometime soon.
Excellent stuff, and obviously, as we've just mentioned, very busy times for Gibraltar Special Olympics football. How does the Strait Games tie up with the rest of the calendar, and how much do the players actually look forward to today's event?
Well, at present I've got 21 members now. 21 athletes, and I've also got partners and helpers. So it's really busy. We train 3 times a week, and the tournaments are mainly between May and June. We have the European Football Week, we have the Grassroots Day, we have the a fun day as well. We have the National Games, which are coming up soon, and we have the special tournament that we were invited, fortunately, by Everton. So it's quite busy for the 2 months, and then after that we just carry on training for next year's World Games, which will be held in LA.
With swimming set to use the GSLA pool in Europort all day on Saturday, water polo was played on Friday afternoon. The sport locally has a dedicated following and is growing gradually. Gibraltar were joined in the tournament by Algeciras, Sam Rocky and Suter, with the action seeing 4 6-minute quarters per match.
It's been great so far. We've had a great response by fans. I mean, like parents have come over. I mean, everybody's been singing, everybody's been cheering the team, so it's been a great atmosphere so far. I mean, I'm loving it myself, so it's good for the kids as well.
Now, the 3 towns that have come over, I think it's Algeciras, San Roque and Ceuta. Some of the teams that you actually compete against in the senior division of the Andalusian circuit. So what sort of a relationship do you already possess with these towns and cities?
I mean, we've been playing in a local league here in Spain, obviously in Andalusia, for a very long time, so it's obviously we've got a great relationship with nearby teams as well. Obviously we've just started up a small a junior team recently, so I mean, we're having a great response by them. You know, they want to invite us over for loads of competitions, they want to invite us over for their provinciales, which they call. So I mean, it's great so far. I mean, it's good that we're building relationships, great relationships. So I mean, it's been a great response by them as well. So yeah.
Now this is obviously 7 years down the road since the last time Gibraltar held the Strait Games here locally, but it's the first time that Gibraltar has actually offered water polo. So is this a good indication as to how much the sport is progressing and developing, especially at a junior level in Gibraltar?
Well, to be honest, I mean, Sean, I and Martin, we put in a lot of hours with regards to all the training, preparation for the young lads. I mean, it's great that we're in Gibraltar, a sport like water polo, which is a great sport. I mean, not a lot of people know what water polo is, and to be honest, it's one of the most dedicated sports in the world. So, I mean, it's great that we're actually holding the Strait Games here in Gibraltar, and that water polo is finally being recognised for the hours and for the development that we're actually putting in for. So, I mean, it's great for us as well.
One final point, Kyle, behind you over your shoulder we can see Team Gibraltar just waiting for their next game. The numbers of junior water polo in Gibraltar have really risen in the past couple of years, so it's looking good for the future for the sport in Gibraltar.
Yes, I mean, I personally didn't imagine the number of youngsters that are coming from the age of 6. I mean, you should see them with 6 years old just playing, it's fantastic. To the ages of 13, 14, I mean, we're trying to get them more involved with the older squad as well, but you know, with regards to the junior team and the numbers that we're having, it's been a great response, so we're trying to promote it as much as we can in schools and everywhere. I mean, you know, it's a great, fantastic sport, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, we'd invite anybody to come and give it a go. So.
Back at the stadium, athletics was, as always, one of the last sports to finish their scheduled events due to the vast number on offer. The track was in use from 4, with the sprints and field events starting things off simultaneously. The relays were held later on in the afternoon, before the longest races of the day, the 1 kilometre cross, concluded the evening's races. This event is supposed to resemble cross-country athletics, which is very big in the UK. Runners set off from the track and then make their way onto the pitch, where they zigzagged up and down before joining the track once again for the final 200 metres. Again, athletics is one of the sports of these games which is not only enjoyed by middle school children, but also by Special Olympic athletes. Although emphasis is not put on competitiveness and winning by the coaches, the athletes themselves tend to get very serious on the track, and who can blame them? After the medals were presented to all those involved in the athletics, and after special athlete Virginia Wink entertained the crowds as she always does, I spoke to head of athletics at this year's games, Avelino Vardaquino.
It's as usual, it's all done with great enthusiasm, everybody loves it, great friendship, very nice competition, everything done in a friendly atmosphere, and everybody has enjoyed it as usual really. And we enjoyed it a bit better because it's done in Gibraltar as well.
And obviously the main aim of the Strait Games is the participation. Competition is sort of brushed to one side, it's non-important, non-existent even in the Strait Games. So how important are these games year after year for young children under the age of 12 to just make friends across the board and even across the straits in times as well?
Well, for athletic, which is quite a hard sport, it's a very right way to start because you initiate it without making the emphasis in competition. It can be a friendly sport as well, and you make friends doing the athletics as well. And it's the first time to represent Gibraltar or maybe the other towns around the area, and everything is a very nice feeling altogether.
Now, as we all know, Avelino, in Gibraltar we've got a very busy junior athletics calendar throughout the season. How does the Strait Games tie in with your calendar?
Well, we always reward the people who have been training throughout the year. We haven't selected the best of the year. We have rewarded them in their efforts throughout the year. So that message gets through as well, and it's like the first stepping stone of getting a bit of commitment to represent Gibraltar in the future.
Now, one final point, Avelino, looking further on in the lives of the young athletes, how do the Strait Games help to gauge as to how successful a runner is actually going to be in the future?
As I said before, at the moment we just encourage them to make the best out of the sport. They are only about 12 years old, so at the moment we don't make a lot of emphasis in making it too serious, but definitely they get the grip of what it's all about. They get a taste of a bit of competition, regardless if we say this competition at the moment is not all that important, but they get a taste of it, and it's a perfect way to initiate them in that manner.
Although almost half of the games had already taken place, it was then time for the official opening ceremony. As usual, it began with the entrance into the stadium by all the day's participating athletes, who marched onto the track arranged in their hometowns. They were then seated on the north end of the pitch as the show went on. As usual, there were dance performances and a short speech by the Minister for Sport, Stephen Linares, before the Strait Games flag was raised and the games light lit. Traditionally, it has been a flame that has signalled the opening of the games, but this year a different approach was taken, with a miniature replica of the lighthouse positioned at the southern end of the stadium. Its light was lit and the games were declared open. One of the most important aspects of the opening ceremony is the game's oath, which each year is read out by representatives from the host city. It was then time for a spectacular laser and lights display, which made use of the rock and the tower blocks as a canvas for projecting parts of the display on. It was a fantastic production, which received great applause. Well, that's it for part one of this special Strait Games catch-up, but join us again after the break when we take a look at how day two of the games turned out.